Hi year 2. We are on lesson 4 of The Worst Witch, and today we're going to finish chapter 2. So we've got more reading to do today and slightly harder questions. So we've not got as many questions, we have to think a little bit more. Okay, so in the last bit of The Worst Witch, Mildred had just been given her cat, hadn't she? Well, her kitten, and it wasn't the same as everyone else's. Everyone had a sleek black cat, so sleek means like smooth and soft. So everyone else had a really nice shiny cat, and it said that, what did it say about the cat's fur? I think it said it looked like the fur had been stuck on with glue. So in my head I've got an idea of like a cat with kind of scraggly bits of fur, maybe messy, maybe needs a bit of a brush. And it also, she was the only pupil, wasn't she, that got a grey cat instead of a black cat. So I wouldn't be very happy, I don't think. And if you remember, the teachers, well, the head teacher smiled pleasantly when she said we didn't have any black ones left. But Miss Hardbroom smiled nastily, if you remember. So I don't think Mildred's going to be very happy. Okay, I've only got 2 questions for you today, so I'll read them out as normal so that you can be thinking about them as we're reading. Okay, so the first question is, why do you think Mildred thinks Miss Hardbroom had something to do with her getting a tabby cat? And the second question is, how do you think Mildred feels about the tabby cat, and why do you think this is? So on that question, you're going to have to write how she feels, but also a why do you think this. So even though there's only 2 questions, you'll have to write 3 or 4 sentences. Okay, so she's just been given her cat, and the teacher has just smiled nastily at her. Okay, she gets her cat. Okay, let's go. After the ceremony, everyone rushed to see Mildred's kitten. I think HB had a hand in this somewhere, said Maud darkly. HB was their nickname for Miss Hardbroom. I must admit, it does look a bit dim, doesn't it? Said Mildred, scratching the tabby cat's head. But I don't really mind. I'll just have to think of another name. I was going to call it Sooty. Let's take them down to the playground and see what they make of broomstick riding. Almost all the first-year witches were in the yard trying to persuade their puzzled kittens to sit on their broomsticks. Several were already clinging on by their claws, and one kitten, belonging to a rather smug young witch named Ethel, was sitting bolt upright, cleaning its paws as if it had been broomstick riding its whole life. Riding a broomstick was no easy matter, as I have mentioned before. First, you ordered the stick to hover, and it hovered lengthways above the ground. Then you sat on it, gave it a sharp tap, and away you flew. Once in the air, you could make the stick do almost anything by saying right, left, stop, down a bit, and so on. The difficult part was balancing, for if you leaned a little too far to one side, you could easily overbalance, in which case you would either fall off or find yourself hanging upside down, and then you would just have to hold on with your skirt over your head until a friend came to your rescue. It had taken Mildred several weeks of falling off and crashing before she could ride the broomstick reasonably well, and it looked as though her kitten was going to have the same trouble. When she put it on the end of the stick, it just fell off without even trying to hold on. After many attempts, Mildred picked up her kitten and gave it a shake. Listen, she said severely. I think I'll have to call you stupid. You don't even try to hold on. Everyone else is all right. Look at all your friends. The kitten gazed at her sadly and licked her nose with its rough tongue. Oh, come on, said Mildred, softening her voice. I'm not really angry with you. Let's try again. And she put the kitten back on the broomstick, from which it fell with a thud. Maud was having better luck. Her kitten was hanging on grimly upside down. You can see it there. Oh well, laughed Maud. It's a start. Mine's useless, said Mildred, sitting on the broomstick for a rest. Never mind, Maud said. Think how hard it must be for them to hang on by their claws. An idea flashed into Mildred's head, and she dived into the school, leaving her kitten chasing a leaf along the ground and the broomstick still patiently hovering. She came out carrying her satchel, which she hooked over the end of the broom and then bundled the kitten into it. The kitten's astounded face peeped out of the bag as Mildred flew delightedly round the yard. And there's Mildred with her new little trick. I think she might be cheating, though. I don't know. "Look, Maud," she called from 10 feet up in the air. "That's cheating," said Maud, looking at the satchel. Mildred flew back and landed on the ground, laughing. "I don't think HB will approve," said Maud doubtfully. "Quite right, Maud," an icy voice behind them said. "Mildred, my dear, possibly it would be even easier with handlebars and a saddle." Mildred blushed. "I'm sorry, Miss Hardbroom," she muttered. "It doesn't balance very well. My kitten. So I thought perhaps..." Her voice trailed away under Miss Hardbroom's stony glare, and Mildred unhooked her satchel and turned the bewildered kitten on the ground. "Girls!" Miss Hardbroom clapped her hands. "I would remind you that there is a potion test tomorrow morning. That is all." So saying, she disappeared. Literally. "I wish she wouldn't do that," whispered Maud, looking at the place where their form mistress had been standing. "You're never quite sure if she's gone or not." "Right again, Maud," came Miss Hardman's voice from nowhere. Maud gulped and hurried back to her kitten. And that's the end of chapter 2. It's got a couple of questions to ask today, and it's all about Mildred's kitten. It didn't have a very good first attempt at flying on the broom, did it? So you got 2 questions. First question: why do you think Mildred thinks Miss Hardbroom had something to do with her getting the tabby cat? And the second question, which you might need 2 or 3 sentences for: how do you think Mildred feels about the tabby cat, and why do you think this? Now, I've got a couple of ideas for that question because of when I was reading. So, 2 questions, write your answers, and we'll see you in a few days for the next shared reading lesson. Bye, Year 2s. See you soon.